Welcome back to a new episode of Review Remedy by ScoreDoc. Have you ever noticed how kids can be fearless about some things? Climbing playgrounds, running through parks, even trying foods they've never seen before. But the moment someone says, dentist appointment, everything changes.
Oh, instantly. The confidence drops, the questions start, and suddenly everybody becomes a negotiation expert. Will it hurt? How long is it going to take? Do they have to look at all my teeth? And honestly, that reaction is exactly why pediatric dentistry matters so much.
Exactly. This is not just about getting through one appointment. It's about setting the tone for how a child feels about dental care long term. If those early visits feel confusing or scary, that memory can stick. But if the experience feels calm, friendly, and predictable, kids are much more likely to build healthy habits without all that dread attached to them.
And that's where pediatric dentists, also called pedodontists, are different from general dentists. They're specifically trained to care for infants, children, and adolescents. So yes, they treat things like cavities, tooth decay, gum sensitivity, and tooth pain, but they also understand child behavior, child development, and how to communicate in a way that makes kids feel safer in the chair.
Right, and I think parents can feel that difference pretty quickly. A pediatric dental visit isn't just the clinical part. It's the pacing, the language, the staff interaction, the environment, the whole experience. Sometimes reassurance matters almost as much as treatment itself, especially for a first visit.
Totally. A pediatric dentist is also there to guide families on prevention, not just fix problems after they show up. That includes brushing, flossing, eating habits, teething questions, and what to expect as children grow. So the role is broader than, open wide and we're done.
Which, to be fair, would be a much shorter episode. But Daniel's right. The early years matter. The source material for this episode points out that choosing the right pediatric dentist can shape a child's comfort level, behavior during visits, and long-term dental habits. And that is such an important point, because parents are not just choosing a provider for today. They're often choosing the experience that will influence how their child thinks about dental care for years.
And in New York City, parents have a lot of options. That's great, but it can also be overwhelming. When there are dozens of clinics, all with polished websites and a mix of online reviews, figuring out where to even begin can feel like a project.
Yes, and when you're already juggling school schedules, work, insurance questions, commute time, maybe a nervous kid on top of all that, you do not want to spend hours trying to decode scattered reviews. That's really why we like covering these ScoreDoc lists. They don't replace your own judgment, but they can give you a clearer starting point.
Exactly. The goal here is not to make the decision for you. It's to help narrow the field using measurable patient feedback so families can start with clinics that appear to have strong and consistent experiences reported by real patients.
So in this episode, we're going to look at how ScoreDoc built its 2026 list for New York. And then we'll walk through the 5 pediatric dental clinics that stood out. If you're researching care for your child, this should give you a practical, no-drama overview of what the list is based on and who made it.
All right, so let's break down the methodology in plain English. ScoreDoc looked at measurable patient review data gathered over the last 24 months and compared pediatric dental clinics in New York, New York. In this report, 54 clinics were evaluated. The point was to identify which clinics stood out based on patterns in patient feedback, not just one glowing comment or one bad day.
And that pattern idea is really the key. ScoreDoc isn't just glancing at a star rating and calling it a day. The analysis looked at several factors: overall ratings, the total number of reviews, how recent those reviews were, sentiment trends in written comments, and ScoreDoc reputation indicators based on that combined review activity.
Right, because a clinic with a strong rating but only a tiny amount of feedback tells you something different than a clinic with lots of reviews over time. Same with recency. Reviews from years ago may not reflect the current staff, current systems, or current patient experience.
Exactly. And the report specifically notes that reviews older than 2 years may be less useful because patients often consider them outdated. So the focus here is really on what families are saying now, or at least recently enough to be relevant.
The source material also explains the platform side of this. The broader ScoreDoc ecosystem mentions sources like Google, Yelp, Healthgrades, WebMD, Facebook, and more, while the specific best-rated report notes analysis across major consumer-used platforms, particularly Google, Yelp, and Facebook. So the big picture is review aggregation across trusted public platforms, with weight given to the factors people actually use when choosing care.
And I like that the methodology doesn't claim to measure clinical competence. That disclaimer matters. This report is designed to identify doctors or clinics with strong overall review performance in the area. It's about patient feedback, experience patterns, consistency, and reputation indicators, not a substitute for checking credentials, insurance fit, location, or talking directly with the office.
Yep, think of it as a screening tool, a useful one, but still step one. From there, parents should verify details, visit the clinic website, and, if needed, check the original review platforms for themselves.
So with that in mind, here are the 5 clinics ScoreDoc identified as the best-rated pediatric-dentist or pedodontist clinics in New York, New York in 2026. East Side Pediatric Dental, Gramercy Kids Smiles, Sky Dental Kids, Upper East Side Kids Dentist, and Watertown Pediatric Dentistry.
Those 5 were the clinics that stood out from the 54 evaluated based on recent review activity, patient sentiment trends, and overall measurable reputation performance. Again, not a personal endorsement from us, and not a clinical ranking in the traditional sense, but a review-based list built from patient feedback data.
And for parents, that can be super helpful because the review experience often includes things families care deeply about. How staff interact with children, how clearly information is explained, how appointments are handled, whether the environment feels welcoming, and whether the overall visit feels smooth or stressful.
Which is especially important in pediatric dentistry. Communication, patience, and consistency can really shape whether a child walks out feeling okay about coming back next time.
So let's get into the 5 clinics themselves and give you a quick snapshot of why each one appeared on the list. Let's start with East Side Pediatric Dental. This clinic has a 4.9 rating, 40 total reviews, 7 recent reviews, and a positive sentiment score of 97.5%. According to the report, families frequently commented on the quality of care their children received, clear communication from the team, and how appointments and overall patient flow were handled. So the signal here is strong positivity and steady engagement.
Next is Gramercy Kids Smiles, and this one really stands out on review volume. It has a 4.9 rating, 232 total reviews, 55 recent reviews, and 98.7% positive sentiment. The report says parents regularly mention their child's treatment experience, staff communication, and the overall care provided. That combination of high volume and ongoing recent feedback suggests a very active and consistent review presence.
Yeah, and when I see high recent activity, I always think, okay, families are still engaged enough to talk about what's happening there now. That doesn't guarantee every visit is perfect, obviously, but it does make the review picture feel current.
Exactly. Then there's Sky Dental Kids, which has a 4.4 rating, 63 total reviews, 13 recent reviews, and 82.5% positive sentiment. Compared with the others, it has a lower overall rating and sentiment score, but it still made the list based on the report's broader comparison set. Reviews commonly discussed how appointments were handled, the feel of the clinic, and staff interactions with both children and parents.
And I think that's a good reminder that these lists are comparative. This isn't about every clinic looking identical on paper. It's about which ones stood out across the full group that was evaluated. Sky Dental Kids still showed consistent feedback activity over time, and the write-up highlights positive experiences around communication and the care environment.
Moving to Upper East Side Kids Dentist, this clinic has a 5.0 rating, 73 total reviews, 6 recent reviews, and 100% positive sentiment. The report describes stable, reliable patient feedback across multiple platforms, with parents highlighting pediatric dental care experiences and communication during visits.
That 100% positive sentiment definitely catches the eye. And again, we always like to pair that with context. There are 73 total reviews and 6 recent ones, so families looking into this clinic may want to read some of those current comments directly as a next step. But based on the ScoreDoc report, the reputation signals here are extremely strong.
And finally, Watertown Pediatric Dentistry. This clinic has a 4.9 rating, 285 total reviews, 59 recent reviews, and 97.9% positive sentiment. The report says patient feedback often covers the dental services provided, clinic operations, and staff interactions. It also notes strong ongoing review activity, which suggests patients continue to share their experiences regularly.
That's a really substantial review count, and paired with 59 recent reviews, it gives parents a lot of current feedback to explore. So looking across all 5 clinics, what stands out is consistency. Different volumes, different sentiment levels, but each clinic showed measurable review activity and patient engagement that put it on the list.
And that's what makes this useful as a starting point. If you're a parent searching in New York, instead of starting from scratch, you've got 5 clinics that demonstrated strong review-based performance over the last 2 years. From there, you can dig deeper into fit, location, availability, insurance, and your child's specific needs.
Exactly. And just one last reminder before we wrap, read the full ScoreDoc report if you want the complete research and methodology. And always verify details directly with the clinic and on the original review platforms before making a decision. We've included the article link in the description so you can explore it yourself.
Ava, this was a good one. Practical, helpful, and honestly the kind of resource families can use right away.
Totally. And we'll be back with more review-based healthcare guides soon. Thanks for listening to Review Remedy by ScoreDoc.
I'm Daniel Garcia.
And I'm Ava Dawson. Take care, Daniel.
You too, Ava. Bye, everyone.